Welcome to my channel. We are still on question number 10 of just ended June WASSCE question, the 2023. So in a town, a chief X reside 60 meters away on a bearing of 53 degrees from the palace P, while the chief Y also reside on a bearing of 150 degrees from the same palace P. So the residents of X and Y are 180 meters apart. So the distance between X and Y is 180. We have to illustrate the information on the diagram and then find what? Correct to three significant figures. The bearing of X from Y and also the distance between P and Y. So let's see how we can do this. Don't forget we have two residents with one stationary position. So we first of all find the bearing of Y from where? From P. You know, when we are finding a bearing of a certain point from P, it means we go to the north of P and did our measurement. And we are going to measure what? 53. And we know that to be an acute angle between the y-axis and the x-axis in the first quadrant. So let's make a sketch of that. You know, this is good enough. Let me bring it down a bit. So let's have the point here, north. Then we have P. We want to measure the bearing of Y from P at an angle of what? 53. And we know the angle of 53 will be somewhere here. So that will give us this. And we know the distance between, this is the value where we are going to put, this is our north, and this is going to be the x. So we have 60 meter on a bearing of 57 degree. So we have the bearing of x from y, from P, meaning go to the north of P and measure your angle of fall, 53 degrees. All right. Then the town or the chief Y also reside on a bearing of 150 degrees from the same palace. Meaning, if I am looking for the bearing of Y, I should go to the north of what? P and measure an angle of what? 150. So we know the first quadrant already have 90 degrees. It means we are only going to add a certain amount of degrees to 90 to get what? 150, and that will be 60. So I'll be adding 60, which we know will be a division of this. 90, 60 will be bigger than 30 because 30 plus 60 give us what? 90. So I'll open up this in order to have the angle 60 a bit bigger than what? Angle 60. We know this is going to be 53 plus a certain degree give us what? 90, and that will be 33 degree. So 53 plus 33 plus 60 will give us our 150 degrees that we're looking for. So if the point Y is also here, then we need to join the values here. All right. So now let's see. The distance between X and Y has been given as what? 180 meters. So I'll be having 180 meters. Then we have the side this, we have this. We are asked to find the distance between P and what? Y. So let's label that with a variable. So for the first question, illustrate the information on the diagram. This is how the illustration is going to be. If you draw this a bit longer, don't forget this is 60. This is going to be 3 times this will give us this. So this must be a bit reasonable longer than this. Then if you draw it, I'm sure you know this is our north, which is not exactly, so there's a space in between that. Find correct to three significant figures the bearing of what? X from Y. You know, from Y, meaning I'm going to the north of Y and measure until I meet the point joining the X and the Y. So in this case, we are moving all the way 90, 90, 90. This very angle, we know this is a line which is straight. This is also a straight line. Both this line and this line are parallel. So if they are parallel, there is going to be this line called a transverse, going to produce an angle of alternate angle. So this will also be 60 degrees. Then we move to this. This very angle is what we are looking for. Let's label that alpha. So in this case, if I have 90, 90, 60. With addition of this very angle, I should be able to find the bearing of X from where? From Y. So now we need to find this very angle. How do we find that angle? We have to see whether we can use the trigonometric ratios. That is, if it is a right angle triangle. You know, this angle here is one of the angles, this here, and the angle out there. But this angle is 33 plus 60, that is 93, bigger than what? 90. Which means this is not a right angle triangle. So we cannot use the Pythagoras theorem also. We can also use the trig functions. But we can use either the sine rule or the cosine rule. But let's see. If I'm looking for this very angle and it is opposite to 60, I know this very side also opposite to 93. So two of the sides are given with the angles opposite to each of the sides. I can use the sine rule. So in this case, we are going to know that the sine rule is, let me begin from here. The sine of the angle, right? If I am going to pick this, I'll be picking the sine of the angle 93 divided by the side. And that side is going to be 180 equals to, I'm picking the sine first, so this will also be the sine of the angle alpha should be divided by the side opposite to that. That will be 60 meters. We know this value, this value, this value. So we have to cross multiply and find this. You know, when we cross multiply, 60 will multiply this will multiply this. So by division by 180 sine theta, we have the sine of the angle, which is alpha, will be equal to 60 times this, that will be 60 sine 93 divided by the coefficient of sine alpha, that will be what? 180. So let's put that into our calculation and see. So this is going to be sine alpha equals to 0.3329. That is if we are moving to 4 decimal places. But don't forget, we are not looking for the sine alpha, but rather what? The alpha. So what do? We find the sine inverse of this particular value. Your alpha will now become the sine inverse of this 0.3329, and if you punch that into your calculator, you should be having 19.444, since I'm moving into 4 decimal places, so 4449. That is the angle alpha here. Is going to be this. But don't forget, we are not really looking for the angle alpha per se, as the question asks. The question is asking for the bearing of X right from Y, meaning the bearing of x from y is going to be going to the north of y and measure 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 60, and we know 90 plus 90 plus 90 will give us what? 270 plus 60 degrees plus the angle alpha, and that will be 19 point, let's say 44. In the sake of angle, let me take 2 decimal places. So if you add this, 330 will be here. So 330, 349 point what? 44. But the question is asking for 3 significant what? Figures. So therefore, this is going to be approximated to first figure, second figure, the third figure. That will be 349 degrees. So the bearing of x from y will be nothing than what? 349 degrees. Good. The next question is to find what? The distance between P and Y, which is labeled as what? Y. So this is also facing this angle, which is unknown. This is facing here, which is known. This is facing here, which is known. We can also use the cosine rule. But you see, if you square 180 is going to be a bigger number. If you square this, it will be bigger. So in all, seeing this is the one we are looking for, if you square the y, it's going to generate a quadratic equation. That will be a long process. So let's still go along with what? Sine rule. But before we can do this, we need to know the angle that is facing the y. And we know this plus this plus this will give us 180. So this very angle, let me describe it. Okay, so the angle PXY is going to be equal to 180 minus the individual angles that are known, which will be 93 minus what? 19.44. Since I'm using angle, let me use 2 decimal places. So that will give us 6, meaning the angle right here should be 6756 degree, and it's facing this. Therefore, following the same approach, when we come to sine rule, we can take the sine of the angle 6756 divided by the side it is facing should be equal to any of this. Since this is also approximation, I'll go with this as sine 93 over what? 180. You could have used this also, but because this is approximation, I prefer to use the 93. So this will multiply this, right? And the y will also multiply this, meaning sine 93 becomes the coefficient of y, which we use to divide. So y is going to be, multiplication of this is 180, the sine 67.56 divided by the sine 93. So don't forget, this is the one multiplying this, so the coefficient will divide, and that will give us, we are going to have 166.598 That is the value of y. But we are listening to the question which says in 3 significant figures. So the distance between P and Y, which we label as y, is going to be approximated to first figure, second, third. And we know this is 5, so we add to this 167, we are in meter, right? 167 meters. So this is what you get from the bearing. So always we look out for which of the formulas will best fit using the cosine or the sine rule. Since we cannot get a right angle triangle, this will be the best way to go about it. I believe the concept is well explained to you. If you have any reservation, hit me in the comment section. Share the link with somebody that may need this and let them subscribe. Comment and let us keep going. Bye bye.